I love you all with all my heart, with all my might. My videos are about love. Sorry that I'm laughing, but it's been an eventful day. My videos are about love, infinity, energy, creation, because we're infinite energy, infinite creation, infinite love. And today is a funny video. It's a video about humor. It's a video about Jest. It's a uplifting, funny video. Really, it's an important theme of the book, humor, and the way we express truth. The way we express truth through humor, because it's a fundamental thing. Sometimes truth must be told in jest, because that's the only mechanism sometimes. Sometimes humor is a positive coping strategy. We're talking about the shadow. You can always refer to the image on y.how/jest. That's y.how/jest. So you can see the visual and understand it is on Substack and on YouTube, and obviously on the website. And you can see that it's a very plain image. It's just a jesta. In case you guys don't know what a jesta is this person, this role, this character of a joker. But it comes from medieval times, and there used to be a jesta at the court making fun of people, particularly mocking the king. So that was the whole role of it, mocking the king every day. Every time he could or she could, he would mock the king, just because that's what a jester does. A jester mocks. And truth be told in jest, that's where this whole Shakespearean idea comes from. Truth be told in jest. When you tell the truth by mocking people, by jest, by humor. Sometimes it's the mechanism. Sometimes the mechanism to share truth and tell the truth is humor, mocking, or just telling jokes, being joyful, being joking. Just in a joking manner. You can also express a lot of truth, because that's sometimes the way. Sometimes there is no other mechanisms that function that are impactful enough, but sometimes through mockery, through humor, through jokes, you can share the message and communicate the truth. And obviously this is an ancient idea, the jesta, and in today's world we call it the joker. There's movies about it. It's a lot of stereotypes. It's a lot of archetypes about the joker in all sorts of representations, because it's true. Humor is a mechanism. In my previous video, one of my early videos about truth spectrum, I was referring of the 4 quadrants of truth. When it comes, because my understanding of truth is objective reality, and objective reality is the mechanism to understand truth. And obviously, based on that, there is a quadrant and 4 different quadrants, and then truth is obviously objective reality. So if you understand the image, you would see that can always refer to the image by going to y.how/truth. That's y.how/truth, and it's on Substack and YouTube. I spoke about it in a video early on. So essentially, truth is that truth has this idea of being based on objective reality, and if you're objective and you are in reality, so you're one with objective reality, then you're a winner. Particularly in the 21st century, how things are developing. And then you have, if you're objective but you lack reality, so you live in an unrealistic setting, context, your perception of reality is blurred. It's essentially smeared by unrealistic terms or unrealistic notions, not based on reality. Then you're a cynic, and cynics, for the most part, they use humor to cope. But then again, they use humor because they're intelligent and their objectivity kind of wants to find a mechanism to cope, so they laugh it off. But in the end, they're still not winners, because they're not their feet are not on the ground. they understand a lot of concepts about objectivity, and they're very intelligent, but they're not realistic. They're very unrealistic. So that's that. And then obviously you have, the subjective people that are also unrealistic. Those are losers. Everyone can move into a winning, and also you can go from losing to a cynic, or from a hater to a cynic, and vice versa. But ideally, a winner is that one who's objective and realistic. And then the haters are people who understand reality as it is, but they don't want to come to terms with it, so they live in subjectivity, very low objectivity. So those are haters, because they hate those winners, because they know who the winners are, because the winners are realistic. So if you're in that quadrant of understanding reality but not wanting to be part of the winning side, then you're the hater, because you're subjective. Your beliefs, your values, your principles, your ethics, your morals don't allow you to become a winner, because you're very subjective, even though you understand reality, which is quite hard. You understand reality, but you don't want to be a winner in reality. That's why you hate, because you understand that to be a winner, you need to change who you are fundamentally, and they don't want to do that. So a lot of them do want to win, so they actually start becoming objective. So then again, this idea of truth be told in jest comes from this notion of the quadrants, objective reality. And sometimes, we live in a society where there is a lot of constraints. It's a lot of restraints, and society has lots of taboo and lots of dogma and lots of notions that are wrong, and a lot of subjectivity and a lot of unrealism, and people just live by it, and there's customs around it and tradition and all sorts of things. So when you find yourself in a society where that is the norm, humor is the mechanism in a big way, because truth be told in jest. That's why in the medieval course you had jesters mocking the king, because the king, that's the whole notion of the king wearing no clothes. Where do you think that comes from? Comes from the same notion, being at the court and mocking the king, because the king is wrong for the most part. He just inherited a throne, and that doesn't make him special. It's just a human, just like everyone else. So the jester's role was that, just to mock the king. So the king was kept in check through humor. And that was just part of it. So that evolved into this whole notion of modern day stand-up, and all these notions that we have, where sometimes society has these norms and these restraints and constraints. And the way you deal with it is with humor. So humor is a mechanism to share truth, to tell the truth. Truth be told to power, truth be told, when you tell the truth, and then humor is always a great mechanism that we have developed in modern society. So if you look at the humor, the image is actual jest. I digitized it with DALL-E, which is this generative AI tool. It's a very good tool. It's been phased out, which is quite unfortunate, but still there. So I have some credits, and I was able to generate this photo out of an actual real thing, and it generated this very funny looking jester. So essentially, if you look at it, what's the truth? The truth is exposure, is light, is, the truth is light, is exposure, is getting out of ignorance, getting out of darkness. You beam by light, you're on the spotlight. The spotlight is clear, it exposes things so you can see truth as it is, the objective reality of it, not the projection, not the shadow of it, but the actual thing, the truth. And it's funny because this image is this little jester, like on the ground with a white background, and then you see the beaming light on it, and he's smiling, or she's smiling, or them smiling. It doesn't really matter. It's just a jester. And then you see the shadow projected in the background, like the shadow, which is the whole thing about it, right? You're casting out the shadow. You're disintegrating the shadow, which is the lies. And sometimes, the misinformation, disinformation, the fantasies, the illusions, the darkness, the shades, all these different things, the lies, the subjectivities, the unrealism, and then you cast it out with the truth, and truth be told in jest. So it's a beautiful image. I always speak about how to disintegrate the shadow, how we do that as compass, because we shatter fantasies and illusions. We disintegrate it. We essentially come to terms with our unconscious mind. so we can use our energy and create, because that's what we're here to create. So it's a very funny little image. So obviously I started these videos with truth, because truth is fundamental to understand who we are in nature. We are a heartful species. We're a benevolent race. Our heartbeat gives us life. It generates this electromagnetic field of creation around us that powers the human body, so we can be conscious and self-aware. And this is who we are. We are benevolent species. We love with our hearts, and the heartbeat comes from the heart. So we live to love and we love to live. This is the truth. This is objective reality. It's based on physics, mathematics, based on biology. This is the way it is. So obviously sometimes society has a hard time understanding basic notions, because that's just the way society has always been. We used to believe the earth was flat. All sorts of notions. And obviously now we laugh it off. But then again, we laugh it off. It's all about humor. So today's video is about understanding the power of jest, the power of humor, the power of jokes. So you sometimes cast a light on shadows, so disintegrate them, so you expose it for what they are, lies, subjective unrealism. And then that's the truth. And you do that through humor. Humor is a great medium. Humor is a great mechanism that we have developed as humans to share the truth that sometimes is difficult for people to hear and understand, because, dogma and taboo and all sorts of nonsense. So it's just the way it is. Upbringing, customs, tradition, heritage, and legacy sometimes have the dark side. So that's just the way humanity has developed. But this image is all about that. It's all about being funny about truth sometimes. So sometimes truth hurts. Sometimes truth is too difficult to process in normal terms. So you add humor to it. Truth be told in jest is exactly that. Is kind of like wearing the hat of a jester, putting the hat on for a minute and exposing truth, facts and events that are actual based on objective reality, by using humor as the mechanism. And not necessarily cynicism, because I think cynicism is destructive. Because cynicism is essentially, sarcasm, cynicism, and satire. All these notions are always, the mocking and the notions that wrap them up are not necessarily based on reality. It's based on subjectivity for the most part, and on realism, because of the views and bias of the person expressing it. So the best humor is humor that is the simple truth, but you just make a joke out of it. You make a joke out of the truth by using realism and using objectivity instead of subjectivity or unrealism, or just objectivity without realism, which is cynicism and satire and sarcasm and all these things, or just like aggressive behavior, which is just a bad joke. And then hate, these hateful jokes, they're also, all these connotations don't go anywhere because it lacks the truth, and let's face it, when we all, when there's a truth there that's been exposed and touched on, a nosy one, elephant in the room type of truth, no one wants to talk about it. The king is naked, and no one wants to tell the king that he's naked. Everyone is pretending that the king is wearing these clothes and all that. That's what the jester is for. That's what the archetype is. Like the whole notion of a jester, a joker, is that you speak truth to power. You tell the king, you're wrong, mister, you're wrong. So that's why you say it, and you say it through humor. You mock it. You mock it out of a person. You just tell it as it is. And the court eventually laughs it off and agrees. Even the king sometimes laughs it off. Because in the end, we're all humans. And we all have a sense of humor. And the most powerful humor is that is essentially wrapped around truth. So it was Shakespeare who said it, truth be told in jest, because he came from a time of courts and a time of that, where, the jester played an important role at court. Because sometimes, no one wanted to tell the king the truth, and then someone had to say it, and it was normally the jester. So let's talk about it then. Let's do a little bit of that. Let's do a little bit of a truth exercise, some truth spectrum here. Let's talk about what a good joke would be if you use the truth. So remember, the truth is a mechanism that exposes lies. It's light exposing the shadow, casting it away, disintegrating it, because it casts the light. Ignorance is removed because you are exposed to the truth. And when you are exposed to the truth, you learn. And the truth is only truth if it's based on objective reality. So when you understand this notion, that is a powerful notion, then you can make humor from it. You can use objective reality and make it humorous, make it funny. So people learn in that way, because sometimes it's too hard otherwise. And the only way to make it funny is by using events that are relatable to those people who are in denial, those people who live in the taboo, who live in amidst all this dogma. So you bring humor to the equation. So you tell the truth by telling a joke. And normally, what does that do? Well, a joke, when you tell a joke, when you are, truth be told in jest, people react. People react to it. And the reaction could be any way. Could be a positive or a negative reaction. But in the end, what matters is that the message is shared. And through that mechanism, the subconscious mind, the unconscious mind of the individual, eventually the seed of truth is planted through humor. And eventually, one way or another, that person would come to terms with it. And that's the power of humor. Humor sometimes is the mechanism to deliver truth. But only truth that is based on objective reality. Otherwise, you're just being a sarcastic person or a hateful person, or satirical jokes or cynic jokes or losing jokes that are not necessarily positive, because the idea is to tell the truth. The idea is to expose the truth. And you do that through objective reality, which is the role of the jest, the joke. They tell it as it is, call a spade a spade. No one wants to talk about the king being naked in the room. So you are the one that has the courage and the bravery to say, hey, Mr. King, what's your clothes? You're exposed. So that's exactly what it is. And it is important because, then again, is humility. When you tell truth to power, speak truth to power, truth be told in jest, figures of power and authority, they're human in the end, and sometimes they get it and they make a judgment. And that's the hope. When you make a joke that is based on truth, objective reality, the idea is to send a clear message that, hey, you're too serious, mate. You're too serious, mate. Way too serious. You gotta relax a little bit. Relax a little bit. Relax a little bit. So, because in the end, you either win or you lose. If you wanna be a winner, you need to be objective and realistic. If you wanna be a loser, stay where you are and keep on losing. And you can lie to yourself and tell all these lies to yourself. But in the end, you know that you're losing because your emotions are clear. Hateful emotions, negative emotions, and those are destructive emotions, and they're not going to help you in the 21st century. The opposite is the case. So the only way to win is to be objective and realistic, and humor lightens things up a little bit. Humor lightens things up a little bit. All these hard feelings or these hard emotions, kind of get softened a little bit. They get softened up a little bit by humor. That's why we use humor in the West. And the world really uses humor as a mechanism to release all this anxiety and all this negativity, all these emotions that do not lead anyone to any good place. So we need to be loving because this is our nature. Our nature is to love. And we need to laugh it off. We need to laugh it off because in the end, we all human, and this vessel is planet Earth, and this is our republic, is everyone's republic. It's not only a group's, it's everyone's. So we all need to come to terms with reality as it is. We all need to understand that we all have a heartbeat. We all breathe. We all human. We're all part of the same race. Okay? It doesn't matter who you think you are and the notions that you have. The fact of the matter is that subjectivities and unrealism are for losers.